All right, next up we have True Romance. Yes, I still have DVDs. God dang it, I know. I bought these things when they came out, and I don't know. Just it bums me out that I don't have this shit on Blu-ray, but I can't replace everything. You know how many fucking movies I bought on DVD when they were brand new and Blu-ray didn't exist, or I just didn't have a player at that time? I'll tell you, the first Blu-ray I ever bought though was Halloween, and I bought it well before I had a Blu-ray. Just saw it was there, saw it was on Blu-ray, and was like, I'm buying it. I don't care. I know I'll get a Blu-ray one day, whatever. And it was that like stock Halloween Blu-ray, and it is still my preferable transfer of that movie, though. That 35th anniversary Blu-ray thing that was like overseen by Dean Cundy and all that. I don't like it as much. I don't know why. I like that standard Blu-ray. Weird, right? I don't know what it is. I like the color grading, all that stuff just looks excellent to me. So, nor here nor there. We're here to talk about True Romance, about Clarence in Alabama. This is a movie that, yet again, I mean, most people love. It's hard to find a person who's not a big fan of this movie. This is a movie I really like. I don't want to say I love it, but I love so much about it. But I don't. When I was watching it this time, I was like, it isn't perfect. Why isn't it perfect? Because Tony Scott directed, and that's not a knock on Tony Scott. But the only person that can direct Quentin Tarantino's writing as well as, or perfectly, should I say, or right, is Quentin Tarantino. I think he did a damn good job. But this film, it feels like Quentin Tarantino in a lot of ways. And it doesn't feel like Quentin Tarantino in a lot of ways. This movie's too lighthearted to be Quentin Tarantino. The musical choices, the upbeat nature of a lot of it, it doesn't feel Quentin, but you can feel the dialogue, a lot of it is Quentin. So I'd be very curious to know how much of this dialogue, how much of this, because I know that Clarence, was supposed to die in this movie, and Tony Scott liked him so much. This is what I heard. I don't know if that's true or not, but liked the character so much, whatever, he wanted to make him live, and Quentin, killed him off and whatnot. So it just, I don't know. It feels like a happier version of what it's like. Remaking a Quentin Tarantino movie and putting more of a sheen on it, making it a little more pretty, making it a little more happy. So that's how this film plays out for me. And, it's still a good movie, but I probably would have preferred the darker Tarantino version of this. It would have been a little funnier, and it would have flowed a little better as well. All right, so we got Christian Slater here, and we have got Patricia Arquette, who is admittedly extremely adorable in this movie, though I don't really usually find her all that attractive, especially later on. It just didn't find her to age all that great, and I don't know, there's something about her. But in this movie, I will admit that she is pretty adorable. Now, their love in this movie feels a little rushed to me. Now, people are allowed to say and feel however the fuck they want. We're not allowed to judge whether or not somebody's in love. We try to do that shit to our kids all the time. We try to do that shit to our friends all the time. Oh, you've only known her for a week. You can't love her. Or, oh, you guys have been together for 3 years. What are you trying to say? You don't know how you feel yet? People feel how they fucking feel. If they want to say they're in love after a night, let them. If they want to say they don't know if they even like the person they're with after 5 years, fucking let them. They have to work out their own shit. So, but from an outside perspective, which, that's my right, is to give my perspective on what I feel of this relationship in this movie. And from what I've seen, now there, of course, would probably be a lot more going on behind the scenes with stuff I don't see in the film. I don't buy that they're this crazy about each other that fast. Like, especially since Clarence finds out that a lot of what she was doing was an act. And he's like me in a lot of ways, in which he is extremely obsessed with, and with his pop culture, with his movies and with his comics and all that stuff. It's a big part of who he is and how he identifies himself. And bonding over something like that is a huge deal to him. That's, one of the things I always think, like, I'm going to go to a horror convention, or I'm going to start a YouTube channel, or I'm going to go into a horror group, and I'm going to find a like-minded girl who's going to love fucking shitty horror movies and all the other crap I like, and we're going to bond so hard over that stuff that we're going to fall in love, in addition to our attraction and all those other things. Of course, I'm not trying to, like, belittle those things. It's just those are obvious other things. And with this, I'll tell you this, and I've had this happen for sure, and I feel like almost anyone who's into certain things very, very heavily, if you've ever met somebody who pretends to be into the shit, I've had this happen. I used to be really, really into sports once upon a time. I know that sounds probably pretty weird to hear from me, how I've never really talked about it, but I really used to be hardcore into basketball especially. And the Phoenix Suns were my everything. I mean, die hard, 82 games a year, never missed a single second. Would fucking like mark myself off from work to make sure I watched every game of the playoffs. I would go everything you can imagine, online all the time, looking up. I would be there to look who they, acquired during the draft, the whole thing. I was a huge Steve Nash fanatic, blah, 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 blah. Wore my jersey all the time, yap, yap. Met this girl, told me that she was super into the Phoenix Suns. And I was like, awesome, like, this is amazing. We have this connection. It's something we can always do. We can watch together. We can go to the games. We can have this and that. We were like a few weeks into the relationship. She came over for a game. She came over in her jersey. I was like, oh yeah, hell yeah, this is amazing. And we sat down, we watched, and you could just tell she really didn't understand what the hell was going on. Like when I'd be like, yeah, she'd be like, yeah, and I'd be like, do you even know why that's a good thing? Do you understand how this game is played? Do you understand that ruling? Do you understand the call? Do you understand this and that? Like, do you have any actual idea of what basketball is? Like, I'm really kind of not believing in that. And we talked a little more, and later she was just like, look, I lied to you, okay? I'm not really that big into basketball. I mean, the Suns are my team because I live in Phoenix and this and that, and I had a jersey because of this and that, but really I'm just, I kind of lied to you to make you feel, like we had this connection, and I just wanted to be cool. And a lot of people would see that as adorable and almost endearing, that they would fake it for you. I'm not like that. I fucking took it as an insult in a way. I was like, you fucking lied. Like, I saw it as a lie, and I saw it as, like liking somebody for a quality that they are not. Don't fucking pretend to be something you're not. Now, of course, Clarence is a different person than me, but I just feel like as into this shit as he is, as into Sonny Chiba in these movies, and the Partridge Family, as she agrees that she made up. She was not actually into those things. It was part of the act and all that. But he's just in love with her and her presence, and they run off after one night together and get married, and they're just gonna take on the world together, hand in hand. Nothing can stop us. We're in love, which is, it's a great attitude to have if you want to have that. It's probably ill-advised, but fuck it. We're in love. They're young. They might as well. Your first marriage usually doesn't work out anyway, so you might as well get it out of the way with someone who you have a physical, passion with. But yeah, I don't know. It's just something about it. The way that whole sequence plays out. It's like, it's cutesy. It feels like a nice first date. And then he finds out that she's a hooker. And he finds out that she was lying to him about a decent amount of it. But she's like, but I think I love you. And it's like, because you saw him this is just the first guy who's ever treated her well. And this is the first girl who's ever really paid attention to the shit that he is into. But I feel like he was paying attention to her in that way because she was into the shit that he was into. And that, it just, I don't know. It doesn't feel real to me, but who am I to say? They're in love. That's fine. Just didn't sell me on it as much as I would have liked. And if I'm going to watch a movie called True Romance, and the entire point of the movie is how in love they are with one another, and that's like the plot of the film that drives this forward, I'm just going to need a little more connection than this one little date that they went on. It's just too quick fire. It's like I wish that would have been 20, maybe 15 more minutes, a little more montages, whatnot, of them really, really falling for one another and seeing where the connection is. So there you go, like 10 freaking minutes to explain why I don't buy the love as much. But that's what hurts the movie for me. That's why it's not an I love the movie. It's almost ironic in a way, because I don't feel like they love each other as much as this movie makes it out to be, and because of that, I don't love this movie as I wish I could. That does seem kind of funny, but regardless, that's my feelings on it. And moving on, working in a comic book store, pretty freaking awesome. I know a lot of people would look at that and be like, wow, what a loser, and I understand that. That's probably not where you want to retire unless you own the place. But fuck, it just depends on what you're into. If you can get by making freaking minimum wage and that you're living the life you want to, that's success. Millions of dollars ain't success if you ain't happy. If you're making freaking, minimum wage and you have your life set up the way you want to have it and you live it very modestly, and that's what makes you genuinely happy, I guarantee you're happier than most people who are successful. So I'm not here to blame, but I'm just saying, I know a lot of people would look at that and be like, whoa, what a loser, but that doesn't all that matter really. And I look at it and I'm like, fuck, man, I wish I could have worked at a comic book store. I definitely could still do that. I guess I could pull a Lester Burnham, although my boss is my father, so going to him and trying to blackmail him by saying that I wouldn't let him blow me probably wouldn't go over as well as it did for Lester Burnham in American Beauty. But if you wanted to go down that path, I thought about it. I've thought about it many times. I've really went the Lester Burnham route in my head, where I'm like, I've always wanted to work at a video store. I've always wanted to work in a movie theater. I've always wanted to work at a record store. I've always wanted to work at these kinds of places. Fuck it. Like, I'm just going to quit my job where I make $60+ an hour, and I'm just going to go start making like $12 an hour, because the job that I'm currently working, I'm like half-hearted into, and that shit I would just be in love with all day, to just sit there and talk movies and organize DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff. That would just be like my love. Although this would of course be my ultimate favorite job of all time, just sitting down here and talking movies with people, getting on podcasts and yapping what's the new film or what's the old film we all love. If someone would pay me enough money to do that, I don't think I could ever complain about much again. We find out that Clarence is Alabama's third customer. She's had 2 other customers, and I'm going to have to guess they were both Persian, because she says her turnoffs are Persians, and I would only assume that because she had to fuck 2, and both of them were cruel to her, and her third customer was sweet to her, and that's why one of the reasons why she says I love you. I find it funny that Val Kilmer is credited before Brad Pitt. He's credited before a lot of these actors in this movie, and he plays essentially Clarence's Jiminy Cricket, his consciousness, his conscience, not his consciousness, his conscience, as Elvis Presley. And it's like, it's when you watch this movie back in the day, you were trying to figure out, you're like, Val Kilmer's in this, cool, I'm gonna look for him, and you're looking for him, and the movie ends, and you're like, where the fuck was Val? And you're like, he was Elvis? Oh, okay. It makes sense when you watch it again, you know it's him, but you're looking for him, you're like, where the hell is Val? And Val at this point, in 93, when this movie came out, Val was fucking awesome. Val was in the prime of his career. Gary Oldman. I mean, what more can we say about Gary Oldman? He's amazing. This is right around Leon, The Professional, as well, which is his best role, in my opinion. One day we'll have to do The Professional, because it is one of the greatest movies ever made, in my opinion. Leon, The Professional, not The Professional, the American censored, neutered bullshit version. The European, like 24 minutes long or whatever it is, where they have him taking her out on hits, and they actually have her in the dress and all that stuff. Amazing. Fucking amazing. But yeah, Drexel is another one of his fucking amazing performances. His wigger white man trying to be a black man. Freaking is wigger an okay thing to say nowadays? I never know what the fuck to say. I don't give a shit. I'll say all the fuck I want, but I don't know. Is that a bad thing now? But yeah, his performance, the shit he said, the cut around his eye and all that stuff. Hilarious. Every fucking thing he said. Is it White Boy Day? He must have thought it was White Boy Day. Is it White Boy Day? Oh shit, he really genuinely thinks he's black in this movie, which is funny because he surrounds himself with black people and they don't seem to call him out for thinking he's black when he's clearly not. And I love when he asks her, like, is he black? Which I feel is racist. I feel like that's a racist line, but hey, look at his dad. Look what he says to freaking Christopher Walken's character about Sicilians. He seems to know a hell of a lot about something that seems pretty fucking racist. So he was raised by him, so it doesn't surprise me that when he hears he's a pimp, his first reaction is he black? I mean, trust me, I'm not the one who gets offended and this and that, but I just found it funny, like, A, why do you assume that instantly? And B, most importantly, why the fuck does it matter? It doesn't make any difference if he's white, he's black, he's fucking green or pink, or just silly to me that he even asks, but he does. And she's like, well, he seems to think so. It's like, it doesn't matter. What the fuck? But when you find him, it does play into it. That line makes sense when later in, but when you think about why he asks that, it's kind of like, I don't think it matters. And then they go to Dennis Hopper. Dennis Hopper, man, such a shame he died. Dennis Hopper, for me, I mean, as a horror fan, of course, I'm going to think of his performance in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which is such a fucking bizarre-ass movie. But I think of all the Hopper performances, I have to say his villainous role in Speed is probably going to be my favorite of them all. Freaking Pop Quiz, Hot Shot, all that stuff. Great stuff, great stuff. He was also the villain in 24, Season 1. He's been all over the damn place. He's been in everything. And the dialogue between him and Walken the whole way that shot, that is Quentin Tarantino. Wholeheartedly. That whole sequence feels like it was directed by Quentin Tarantino. Although the music still is a little light. The musical choices in this, it feels like I'm watching an early 90s comedy, like an adventure comedy type movie, you know, like My Father the Hero or something with Gerard Depardieu. I don't know, it feels really out of place at times. I'm like, what the fuck is this music and why is this in this movie? So I don't care for some of the musical choices. You know, Tarantino does his music versus this. He uses a lot of like actual pop culture songs in his movies, and they fit the movie super well. This one just, I don't like it. And oh god, Brad Pitt's Floyd in this, hilarious. Just the stoner and the don't fucking condescend me, man, I'll kill you. And then he's like, hey, is either one of you want to smoke? And they cock the shotgun and he's like, oh, and he just goes back to the directions. Fucking hilarious. Brad Pitt, hilarious. I want to say this is around California and California days, and what? This would have been, California Legends of the Fall would have maybe been a year before this, so he was a big fucking deal at this time. I mean, Thelma and Louise was maybe 90, 91, and that's what really like put him on the map as like the sex symbol. And he did like Legends of the Fall, and he did California, which kind of showed more of his range, but I want to say that was like 94, so that might have been a year after this. But I want to say, Legends of the Fall was like 92, 93. River Runs Through It around that time as well. I fucking love Brad Pitt. I've always loved him his whole damn career. I'm so glad that he's blown up, and to see him coming back to do Inglourious Bastards, and now with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, making some rounds with Quentin Tarantino. They're a great fit with one another. But his performance in this is just fucking hilarious. And we even got Balky in here from Perfect Strangers, which I've never seen that show, and everyone always refers to him as that character. I don't know fuck all about that character, to be completely honest. for me, he'll always be Mr. Toomey from The Langoliers. That's just me. That's how I know this dude. But he's really funny in this movie as well, especially when the girl slaps the coke up into his face and he turns around at the officer, and the way he handles having the mic put on him by freaking Tom Sizemore, who plays Jack Scagnetti in Natural Born Killers, and Chris Penn. God, I hate that Chris Penn had to die. But regardless, Chris Penn, who's like 27 years old in this movie when I looked it up. I was like, holy shit, he's so young in this. You don't look it. He looks older. But I love both of them. But yeah, I mean, a little connection there to Natural Born Killers and Reservoir Dogs. And I mean, a lot of these people ended up being, in Quentin's other movies as well. And let's see, what else do we got here? Oh man, the scene where James Gandolfini, Tony Soprano himself, which I want to say this is, this isn't that close, but this is around that, because at this time, I mean, this was a good deal before The Sopranos. But I remember James Gandolfini being in this, and I was like, that's an awkward, weird motherfucker in this movie. And I remember seeing him in 8mm and movies like that, and was just, I don't know. He wasn't that guy for me until then Tony Soprano, and now that's all I can see him as when I watch him. But back in the day, when I remember him from this and 8mm in those movies, he was just like this sleazy, creepy guy, and then Tony Soprano is just this amazing role that really kind of defined his career. But before that, he was not remembered like that at all. So good thing he got that role. Another shame. Another fucking guy who died way too young and was awesome. And freaking Michael Rappaport. Holy shit, Michael Rappaport. He's great in this. I love Michael Rappaport. There's a movie that he made called, what's that movie called? Oh fuck me. He thinks he's a superhero. I want to say it's called like Super, but that's what the movie with Rainn Wilson and Ellen Page is called. So, what the fuck is that movie called? Really good movie. Look it up. Michael Rappaport. You'll see it. It's like Super or something like. They might both have the same names there, but that's like that for me. I feel like that's Rappaport's best movie. And Rappaport's good. I really like him in a lot of shit I've seen him in. But check out that movie if you haven't seen it. I can't even remember the title, man. It's been a long time since I saw it. But yeah, he thinks he has superpowers. It's been a long time, but I remember really enjoying the shit out of it. I probably should have wrote it down, but of course I'm talking out of my ass and I come up with it on the spot. I don't have anything written down much. My notes are actually really, really light on this movie. It's not even half a page, so I didn't take a lot. It's sad though, because you think that when he gets the part, you're like, oh, he's gonna die. He's gonna fucking die. Uh-oh. You already said all that stuff, and them putting together that raid, and the guy sitting there, and his bodyguards won't back down from the cops, and he's sitting there, he's like, put the fucking guns down. Could you imagine if you hired guys and they're the reason for why you died? Like, you're my bodyguards, you're not supposed to get me killed. When the cops come in, you throw down your guns, and it's like, I fucking hate cops. And it's like, whoa, what did I hire? Okay, I'm gonna get on out of here. Don't flip me off, I'll have you fucking killed. He's great. He's funny in this. Tom Sizemore's character here shooting Lee, right? Isn't that his name? Lee Donovan or something like that. He shoots him, Lee, for throwing coffee on this guy. Really? For throwing coffee? He shoots him to death? That seems a little excessive at the moment. The coffee must have been pretty damn hot. And everyone dies. Holy shit, this is a complete massacre. And I feel like Clarence gets shot right here, but somehow he still loses his eye. I don't know. He does. It's better than being dead, like Quentin had originally wrote, so I've heard. So I would rather have one eye than no life. It seems that they get the money, and they do really get to go off and live in what, Cancun is I think what she says. I'm thinking of like Bora Bora. You don't speak of Bora Bora neither. But no, it's Cancun if memory serves me. Them getting tattoos. Don't ever get your girlfriend's name, your wife's name, or anything tattooed on you. It's a big fucking no-no. I know everyone tells you this, but I remember a buddy of mine, well, a friend of mine's husband got her like full portrait on his side or his arm. I can't remember. It's been a long time now, but he got like this big and her name somewhere else on his body. And now he's married to another woman with a kid and everything, and now you got to explain who the fuck is this huge portrait of here. You can see how fucking much I'm sweating because it's 120 fucking degrees out in this garage. I sweat for you guys, blood, sweat, and tears. Yeah, it's funny. So, anyways, all right. Yeah, as I said, I really like it, but I'm not in love with it like everyone else. Okay, let's move on.